to follow the money. As Kerry just mentioned, two suspected terrorists involved with Tuesday's attacks were enrolled as the students at the Huffman Aviation Flight School in Florida. Wednesday, FBI agents carted away between 8 and 10 boxes of records from that school. This morning, its president, Rudy Dekkers, is at the school. Mr. Dekkers, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Give me an idea of exactly what was in the boxes that the FBI took away.
The FBI came here 2:30 a.m., talked to my general manager. They wanted two files. We indicated that we do more students from Europe, more from the Middle East, and we told them you can take all the files, and so they did. We gave them all the files we have from the last couple of years from all the students we passed through our facility.
So what you're saying is that the FBI seemed to be interested not only in these two men, Mohammed Atta and Marwan al-Shehi, but perhaps some other students as well?
No, they came for the two students. All we tried to do is help the authorities with as much as possible information to help the authorities to find these bastards.
Well, tell me a little bit about these two students, the ones who have been identified as students at your flight school. What can you remember about them? What contact did you have with them?
The only contact I had with them when they already were at my flight school for a couple of weeks. When I see faces a few times, I intend to talk to them for a couple of minutes just to socialize a little bit. I met them in the hallway, talked to them. I talked to Atta a few times. I didn't like the person. Why? I just didn't like him. No explanation. I talked to the other guy, I believe Hashimi, the bigger guy. He was a likable person like you see every day, and that was the only contact I had. I did talk to them about where you're from, what are your plans in life, and they indicated to us that they wanted to fly big airplanes back home. They indicated to us also when they came into the front door in Venice that they came from another flight school and they were not happy at that flight school and they wanted to finish the training with us.
Yeah, one of the other students at your school has said already that he tried to socialize with them on a number of occasions and they seemed to stick to themselves. How many hours did they actually log in training before they got their certificates?
That had to be around 250 hours because that's the minimum requirement you need for the for the commercial license. The commercial license they obtained here is the plane you can probably see behind me. That is the heaviest equipment we have here as Huffman Aviation, and as you can see, that is nothing compared to the planes that they hijacked. Also, to my knowledge yesterday from the media is that after they left my school here, November, December, they left to Pompano Beach and did some jet training over there because we're not capable to give them any jet training.
Yeah, there have been so many questions in the last 24 hours, Mr. Dekkers, about, would the training they received on that plane you talk about behind you have qualified them or made them able to guide a 757 or 767 jetliner?
Well, in my opinion, not. But I'm not professional in the big airplanes, only in the small stuff. I have asked several captains, is it possible? And they said, well, we don't think it's possible. They had to, they changed direction, they changed altitude, they had to know knowledge about the avionics equipment to change the pilot, autopilot. In my opinion, not, but I'm not a professional in the big planes. Although, does it matter? We have found out yesterday that they went to another school to obtain more instructions or basic instructions on the jet lines. They only had here the small stuff.
And obviously they had access to flight manuals, some of which have been found, and unfortunately the cold hard truth is they didn't have to know how to take off or land these jets. They only needed to be able to steer them somewhat and to hit their targets. I know you mentioned you had about 60% of your students are foreigners, so there would have been no immediate reason to suspect these people, and that would be a dangerous assumption anyway. But have you asked yourself 100 times in the last day or so, did you miss a sign of some kind?
7 o'clock yesterday morning, I asked myself, could I? Was there anything? I asked all my employees because I don't have too much regular contact with the customers. I asked my instructors who instruct them for 4 months. There was no socializing. They never talked about religion, not even talked about girls. I mean, two subjects are always hot in the aviation industry. It's aviation and girls. They never socialized. They never talked. They were by themselves, and there's nothing. And of course, we ask ourselves here, as the group of people, could we? No, no. They came into the front door. We did not help them with any visa. They were in the United States. There was a license issue from the government to get into the country through another school or through another organization. We did ask their copies of their passports. I can't recall two of them where they came from. There was in the file. The FBI was extremely happy that we had copies of their passports, and that's all we could do. They behaved normal, as Dave Whitman said, the designated examiner from the FAA. They behaved normal. They were average people, and that's it. They left in November, December. We don't keep a track of all the students who come over here, and they left out of our eyesight. Till yesterday, of course.
Might you be more skeptical of new students in the future, which I guess would be a kind of a sad thing if that happens?
Well, of course we have to think about what are the rules and regulations, what's the government doing on this. We have sometimes, I own 2 flight schools, one down in Naples, and we do a lot of foreigners there too. We also have sometimes refused visas for these students due to the fact that the government don't want to let them come in. And then, well, of course, that is logical. If they don't want them, fine. My feeling is right now, if we have people coming from the Middle East, if they are still allowed to come back into this country, what we will do is send the file to the local FBI, just fax them the information. At least we gave them then the file of if we have a suspicion. We have a natural act in this, and that's we're going to suspect everybody from this area in the world to be the bad boys.
It's unfortunately certainly changed the mindset of a lot of people, and we would
Absolutely.
hope, as we've mentioned several times, that people don't unfairly assume or target people from that part of the world or from that religion. That certainly would be a terrible outcome of all this. Rudy Dekkers. Mr. Dekkers, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, Katie?
Matt.